Okay, I have three things to show you. The first one is historic. The second one is something I know happened because I've seen tape of it, but I still don't believe it happened. And the third is something that I find very funny, and I hope you do too. Thing one, this is the historic part. A civil rights moment that was going to be held at the White House today, but that they had to move to an auditorium at the Interior Department because so many people wanted to be there when it happened, when this happened.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States of America, the Commander-in-Chief, Barack Obama.
Thank you. Yes, we did. You are welcome. This is a good day. I am just overwhelmed. This is a very good day, and I want to thank all of you, especially the people on this stage, but each and every one of you who've been working so hard on this, members of my staff who worked so hard on this. I couldn't be prouder. I say to all Americans, gay or straight, who want nothing more than to defend this country in uniform, your country needs you, your country wants you, and we will be honored to welcome you into the ranks of the finest military the world has ever known. Some of you remember I visited Afghanistan just a few weeks ago. And while I was walking along the rope line, there's a big crowd, about 3,000. A young woman in the uniform was shaking my hand, and other people were grabbing and taking pictures. And she pulled me into a hug, and she whispered in my ear, "Get don't ask, don't tell done." And I said to her, "I promise you I will. For we are not a nation that says, don't ask, don't tell. We are a nation that says, out of many, we are one. We are a nation that welcomes the service of every patriot. We are a nation that believes that all men and women are created equal. Those are the ideals that generations have fought for. Those are the ideals that we uphold today. And now it is my honor to sign this bill into law." This is done.
If you are wondering why there are subtitles on the president who is speaking very clear English, it's to make things work for the live audience here at the 92nd Street Y. They also account for some of the applause you are hearing. The whole psychology of the newsmaker thing, what makes that guy tick thing, it's not really the way that I approach the news. I am usually interested more in what people do than what people are like. That said, it seems important to me that the president was freaking elated to sign the Don't Ask, Don't Tell repeal bill today. So that's one. That's thing one, the historic thing today. Thing two, the thing I can't quite believe happened, even though I know it did, is this. You may remember this happened in July at Netroots Nation, which is the big progressive conference that was held in Vegas this year. Check this out.
This morning, Dan Troy gave me this to give to you. That's his West Point ring. He says it doesn't mean what it did mean to him anymore. And this is his discharge.
He earned this ring, and I'm going to give it back to him. I don't need his ring to fulfill the promise that I made to him.
Thank you. When it's signed, Senator, when it's signed.
That's good enough with me. When the bill's signed, I'll keep it safely and give it back to him. Okay?
Senator.
Oh, Dave. When we get it passed, you'll take it back, right?
I sure will, but I'm going to hold you accountable.
Okay, that's good.
So that was Dan Choi and Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. That took place in July. And then today, Senator Reid posts this on Twitter. I literally see it. Why I'm on Twitter wasting time. He posts this on Twitter 5 months after I promised to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell. I'm so happy to give this West Point ring to Lieutenant Dan Choi. And then, ta-da, link to this picture of Senator Reid giving Dan Choi back his West Point ring. Here's what's even better. Dan Choi is such a fierce activist now. Cast in flame, right? Here's how Dan Choi responded also on Twitter to that. He wrote this, quote, "The next time I get a ring from a man, I expect it to be for full equal American marriage." Take that! All right, so that's thing number 2. I said I had one other thing I wanted to show you. Thing 3. This is not the historic thing. This is not OMG. I can't believe it. But this also happened, and I think it is important that I tell you that it happened. Behold, Congressman Barney Frank, Democrat of Massachusetts, and a reporter from a conservative news service called Cybercast.
I have a question for you about the working group that Secretary Gates put into effect. He appointed the Defense Department working group. They recommended that straight military personnel will have to shower with homosexual openly.
Showering with homosexual? What do you think happens in gyms all over America? What do you think happens in the House of Representatives? Of course people shower with homosexuals. What a silly issue. What do you think goes wrong when people shower with homosexuals? Do you think it's the spray makes it catching? I mean, people shower with homosexuals in college dormitories, in gyms where people play sports, in gyms elsewhere. It is a complete non-issue.
So that recommendation, you think, is a non-issue?
To accept the principle that homosexuals can't shower with other people is a degree of discrimination that goes far beyond this. I mean, we don't get ourselves dry cleaned.
We don't get ourselves dry cleaned. Ta-da! 3 things that, for various reasons, I'm glad I saw today. Don't Ask, Don't Tell is dead, and Barney Frank is still hilarious. Joining us now is Melissa Harris Perry. She's an associate professor of politics and African American studies at Princeton University and an MSNBC contributor. Hi, Melissa. It's great to see you. I am so happy to know about the dry cleaning thing. I always felt like an outcast in the community, having never done that. The president looked elated at this bill signing today. They moved it into an auditorium. He sounded like he was back on the campaign trail when he talked about it. How important are civil rights and justice issues to the potency of this presidency?
Well, okay. They're at the core. I mean, let's be real. Part of the reason that Barack Obama wins the 2008 Democratic nomination and then the U.S. presidency is in part because of how Americans were feeling at that moment. In 2005, after Hurricane Katrina decimated the city of New Orleans, we watched how we had failed as a nation on every meaningful civil rights issue of income inequality, of the distinctions between urban and rural areas, on black and white issues. And we were horrified by who we were. And part of what happened was that Barack Obama in 2008 reminded us of the best of our sort of American narrative, that kind of yes, we can. And so we rejected grandma on the roof of her home for days, starving, dehydrating, and we said instead we can be a better country. So civil rights were at the core part of what Americans were yearning for in the 2008 election.
You wrote today at The Nation about Obama in the age of accommodation, which is a hard thing to think about when you were talking about civil rights and justice issues, because it's an area that doesn't feel very gray. It feels very black and white. What do you mean by the age of accommodation?
Well, the age of accommodation is what we called that sort of turn-of-the-century moment when Booker T. Washington was the premier black leader and where he did things like basically basically accommodate to issues as horrifying as lynching. And after the signing of the tax bill, I'd had an African-American activist friend whisper the words Booker T. Washington to me about Barack Obama. And it hit me in such a horrifying place. I wanted to pause. And I wanted to just say that when we look at that age of accommodation, it's not what you think. It actually was an age of failure. And the thing is, we just don't tell the failure story. So let me just pause in all of this excitement about Don't Ask, Don't Tell and say, when W.E.B. Du Bois told black people to serve in World War I, he said if we served in World War I, we'd get the right to vote, we'd get equal citizenship rights, that all of those things that are bundled with citizenship would come with military service, and they did not. In fact, not only did they not, but lynchings of black men in their military gear became sport between the two world wars. So I want us to remember that right now in more than 30 states in this country, if you are gay, lesbian, or transgendered, you can be fired for your identity. That the National Fair Housing Act does not protect against either gender expression or sexual orientation. That you still cannot marry in this country. So yes, it's amazing. I mean, it's amazing. But it's also still only a limited win. And the work continues. We have to keep fighting and failing, fighting and failing.
Well, tell me about that. Tell me about that as a dynamic tension. To me, I feel like a president to win re-election needs two things. He needs an economy going in the right direction and needs a base. Thinking about this base, there is a dynamic tension between this base wanting to hold him accountable and wanting him to win.
Yes.
Is that tension dynamic, or is it just tense?
Look, we got to fight and fail. I mean, I think, look, I love Twitter. I have sort of a Twitter problem.
You do have a Twitter problem. It's a good one. Yes, you do.
So, I like the world in 140 characters. I like microwaves. I like things happening quickly. But the fact is, it didn't take 2 years to pass Don't Ask, Don't Tell. The first protest against the exclusion of gays in the military was in 1965 at the Pentagon. When we tell the story that the civil rights movement happened between Brown v. Board and the 64 Civil Rights Act, we've got it wrong. It goes back to the 1870s. This is a country that moves slowly. And so it's not that therefore we say, well, don't worry, arc of justice, it's all going to be fine. It's that you fight and fail, fight and fail, fight and fail. You yell at the president, but then when it's time, you say, thank you, Mr. President.
To have this White House invite Dan Choi to the signing ceremony today, to have him there at the Capitol today after he was chained to the White House gates, shows that they, I think, believe what you're saying.
And they are not the Bush administration.
And they're not the Bush administration in many ways. Melissa Harris-Perry, Associate Professor at Princeton. Will you please be on the show tomorrow night to talk to me about Haley Barbour in Mississippi?
Well, as long as I can do it from New Orleans, or you fly my daughter and husband up here because they want me home for Christmas.
I will call
that whole Congress thing?
I've heard about that.
Yeah, Advent.
I will call the General Electric Corporation and see what I can work out. I'll trade in a bomber. All right. Melissa, thank you. NBC's Richard Engel is still to come on tonight's live broadcast from the 92nd Street Y. Please stay with us.